There we go. All right. So we have Anya or Anya. How do I pronounce that?
Anya.
Anya. Hello, Anya. And we've got, let's see if I get this right. Tomohiro? Yeah, Tomohiro? Nice to meet you. Oh, and looks like we got, there's our other two. Excellent. All right.
Oh, hi.
Hello, how are you?
Great.
Is that, we have Evangela? Is that how I say it?
Yes, you said it correct.
All right, thank you. And Alyssa, is it Alyssa?
Yes.
Hello. All right, guys. Let's see here. Well, I guess we can get going. Everyone's on time. Perfect. Okay. So what we're going to be doing today is working a bit with public speaking. And I'm sure you guys are wondering, okay, well, how can you have a whole class based around it? Well, I'm going to tell you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to break things down into pretty much three parts. Okay. We're going to start off by talking about a little bit about public speaking and the history of it. But then what is specifically a fable? If anyone knows what a fable is, what's the point of a fable? Okay. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But then you guys are also going to have a chance to write something in class, because by the end, we're going to have to do a little presentation for each other. Everyone's going to have to share what they wrote. And when we do that, we're going to practice the best methods of speaking publicly. So if it's makes you nervous, that's okay. This kind of thing is often a lot of adults get scared by public speaking. But the idea is practice will really build that confidence. So I'm just going to tell you guys, before I even became a teacher, I actually worked my way through retail, and I sold home theater. Now, the only reason that's important is that at the back of this home theater store, I actually always had to recite a script. So I actually had to memorize something 2 pages long, and we're talking like 2 full pages, right? Not a lot of space. I had to memorize that. It was all about home theater and speakers. And to be honest, nothing I was really passionate about, but I had to pretend I was passionate about it. And I had to still learn it for my job. And there's a couple of things that I learned from that actually were very beneficial and worked for me as a teacher, worked for me in actually a lot of aspects of life. And one, memorizing something will always make you more impressive to the person or your audience that's watching you. So we are going to do a little bit of memorization in this class. We're going to build our way up to it. Nothing today, okay? And we're not going to be doing it. We're going to try to keep it fun. But the benefit is when you have to do a presentation, whether it's for class, whether it's for work, whether it's for, I don't know, a birthday party, or someone had an anniversary and they asked you to speak about it. There's a lot of different reasons. We usually call those ceremonial speeches. This will prepare you for all of that. Okay. Now, I think what I wanted to mention was that here's probably the first piece of advice I can give you guys between this class or speaking in public. If you never even came back to this class, there's one thing I can tell you that'll be very useful. And if you're nervous about a presentation, you want to practice it, because you need to mess it up. And I know that sounds kind of strange and it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but you need to stumble while you do it. You need to grab someone like a friend that doesn't know what you're working on, someone who you're really going to be able to just, okay, here's what I'm working on, and try it. But honestly, the sooner you fail while trying it, then you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't so bad. So for my job, when I had to sell home theater equipment, I would go and recite this script. And when I first started, I completely botched it. There's like 12 people that I was doing it for. I forgot everything because I got nervous. And my boss came in and took me out and kind of laughed and was like, don't worry about it. And he stepped in and he finished the presentation. And after that, it just wasn't so bad because I already embarrassed myself. So getting that out of the way, that's going to help you guys in terms of how to present in class, how to present for work, okay, and so on and so forth. So I've explained that. I'm not going to keep hitting you guys on the head with it. Do you have any questions so far? Any questions for me? No? Thumbs up? Good. All right. Okay. So let's start. Let's change gears a little bit. Who can tell me what's a fable? What is a fable? Why would it be useful? Or how about this? Show of hands. Who knows what a fable is? Okay. Tomohiro, Evangela. Okay, but not everybody. Not everybody. Well, then, if you don't mind, I'm gonna pick on Evangela for a second. Evangela, can you tell me what a fable is?
A fable is like a folk tale.
Okay, well, what would be like what's a folk tale?
A folk tale like is a fiction story. It's like myth.
Yeah, you're right. It's usually a story about something that didn't happen. It's made up. Okay. And a folk tale can be all kinds of things. It could be a legend, could be a myth. Like, ooh, we don't go out by that lake. That lake's haunted by a evil spirit. Okay. And if that's a story that goes back, generations, then you've got a folk tale. Absolutely. Fables are a little different. Fables are actually, by their very design, meant to impart a lesson. But usually that lesson is supposed to be what we would call a morality. Okay, it has to have a moral. So the reason for this, and this actually goes back to where Aesop's stories came from. You know what? I bet you guys do know a fable. This is how I should have started. Who can tell me? Has anyone ever heard about a story about a famous race between a rabbit and a turtle? You guys ever heard about that? Who's heard about that? No, really? Okay. Tomohiro, would you mind telling us the story very quickly? What's the story of the rabbit and the turtle?
So first, they were about to be in a race who was the fastest, and the rabbit ran fast and the tortoise went slow, but in the middle, the rabbit just take a nap, and then the tortoise just went walking past, and then almost near the goal line, and then when the rabbit woke up, she was running.
That's right. Like, oh no, I slept too late. But then the tortoise or turtle got there before the rabbit, and hurrah, hurrah. The moral and what we usually say when we hear this story is that it has a moral. And I think the moral we know is slow and steady wins the race, right? Nothing too crazy about that one. We remember that one. That is a fable. And there's a couple reasons why it's a fable. Fables, we essentially have two kinds. One is what we call rational, okay? And the other one, we usually, what is the other? What is the other one? Well, both have to do with being rational, but essentially one has to do with if you use people or if you use animals. Now, when you use animals, okay, this one is usually to show us a morality. We're trying to talk about, that's the difference actually. When we use animals, they're more, we show morals, but when we use people, we generally show decisions. So this is a very different idea. Essentially, when you use animals, it makes it easier to talk about something or to teach someone a lesson without making it about people, because sometimes it's easier to tell a story that you can't necessarily see yourself in. That's why we use animals. When we use animals in a story, whether it's a cartoon, whether it is in a book, whether it's a movie, there's something very special about using animals. Animals don't have a class, right? You can't be necessarily a businessman. You can't be a slave. You're just an animal. You're just out there. You're equal. And there are lessons to be learned. So they're easier to talk about, right? When we use animals, you don't have a race to worry about, okay? What nationality are they? Doesn't matter. Animals make a story more accessible. More people can enjoy them. More people can see themselves in it. So let's think of another fable. Let's see. Well, actually, now that we use the example of the tortoise and the rabbit, Can anyone think of another story? Anything to do with animals that teaches it? Oh, great. We got some hand. Okay, Alyssa, you go.
The crow that tried to drink the water from the bottle.
Okay, what's the story?
So there was a crow who was very thirsty, and then one day he found a bottle of water, but the bottle was very low. So when he tried to drink the water, he just got stuck.
Ah, okay.
He pulled himself out and then ran, like walked all around the bottle trying to think how do you get the water out. So he
Okay.
thought of an idea of using the rocks and putting it into the bottle and the water should rise.
Right. Very clever. Very clever. What's the moral of the story? If I had to put you on the spot and say, okay, what's the moral? What would you say it is?
I think if you think about it, you might actually find the solution.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Thinking about something or maybe something to do about engineering. Use what you have, maybe, right? If you're a crow, you have rocks. Don't have a whole lot else. Okay. Does anyone else have an example? I have a couple that I'm going to share with you guys, but if you, yeah, Evangela, you want to share one?
The town mouse and the city mouse.
Oh, those are good. Okay, town mouse and city mouse. Someone from the country, someone living in the city. Let's hear it.
So at first, like the city mouse went to his cousin home. The town mouse, like the city mouse went to the town mouse home and like have like visited the like his uncle's home, but he hated his uncle's home, so he asked the like his uncle to go to his like house, and then when his uncles went to his house, he hated it too. So the moral of the story is that there is no place like home.
I like that one. And I think that's also a very, very, very old story. I believe back in the days of the Greeks, they would use, I think it was a country dog and a city dog. Same idea. Actually, one, I think it was a wolf and a dog. Wolf came from the country, dog's in the city. They switch spots. They don't like it. No place like home. Makes a lot of sense. Perfect. Thank you. So they're always, they're usually not very long stories. That's important. They need to be able to be said within a couple breaths. All right. And that's because a moral shouldn't be very complicated. And that's why we tell a story. But just like I think it was Evangela that said before, they are like folk tales. They're made up. They're fiction. Okay. And we also know that animals don't talk, obviously, but that's why it's useful. We can still see ourselves in them, whether it's a dog, whether it's a mouse. But they don't necessarily have to have animals. So that is why I'm going to use an example from, this is also a classic example, but it uses a little boy and the nettles. Do you guys know what nettles are? You guys ever hear of nettles? How about needles on a flower? You know, thorns? Do you guys know what thorns are? Okay. Thorns, nettles, same kind of idea. But before we do, we need to mention that on some flowers, thorns, they can be really prickly. So if you pick them up just very carefully, it'll actually poke you. So what's funny about it is that counterintuitively, if you just grab them very firm, they can't poke you. And you kind of squish the thorns together and you lift it. So just in case you're not familiar, that's the difference between picking them. And here's the story, very quick. Okay, it's called The Boy and the Nettles, but you can think of the nettles like needles, like thorns. A boy stung by a nettle ran home crying to get his mother to blow on his boo-boo and kiss it better. Son, said the boy's mother when she had confronted him, the next time you come near a nettle, grasp it firmly, and it will be as soft as silk. And the moral of the story is simply, whatever you do it with all your might. That's it. So we don't have any animals. We just have a boy who's trying to pick up a flower. I think that that's useful to an extent, but it's still not as fun as when we use animals. So you know what? We're going to stick with that. This one's called The Frogs and the Ox, okay? All right. An ox came down to a reedy pool to drink. As he splashed heavily into the water, he crushed a young frog into the mud. The old frog soon missed the little one and asked his brothers and sisters what had become of him. A great big monster, said one of them, stepped on little brother with one of his huge feet. Big was he, said the old frog, puffing herself up. Was he as big as this? Oh, much bigger, they cried. The frog puffed up still more. He could not have been bigger than this, she said. But the little frogs all declared that the monster was much, much bigger. And the old frog kept puffing herself out more and more until all at once she burst. Moral of the story, do not attempt the impossible. It's a little bit strange, right? I don't know if I know of any frogs that are going to grow and grow and burst. So some of these are even a little bit nonsensical. But these are old, ancient stories. Okay, let's try. Oh, not so much as Liberty. That one's a little more complicated. Let's try this one. It's called The Man and the Lion. Ooh, so now we have a human and an animal. Okay. A lion and a man chanced to travel in company through the forest. They traveled together. They soon began to fight, for each of them boasted that he and his kind were far superior to the other, both in strength and in mind. Now they reached a clearing in the forest, and there stood a statue. It was a representation of Heracles, an ancient hero, in the act of tearing the jaws off of a Nemean lion. Okay? This is just a statue. See, said the man, that's how strong we are. The king of beasts is like wax in our hands. Ho, 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 laughed the lion. A man made that statue. It would have been quite different scene had a lion made it. And then the moral of this story, it all depends on the point of view and who tells the story. Okay, now that's important. When we think about history, we usually think about the victor gets to write the story. Okay, so this one's essentially saying those who get to the story first get to decide the truth. Now, let's think of how this would actually apply. Let's say you're arguing with a friend, or worse yet, you see a friend, or maybe they're not even your friend, but they lie. And they lie so mean that it hurts your other friend's feelings. And you're like, nope, I'm not going to let you get away with this. So you march off to tell the teacher, but then that same person runs to the teacher before you and lies again and says, oh, no, it wasn't me. That person said the mean thing. And now the teacher's like, oh, I don't know what to believe. This person said it first. So who do I go with? Very often, they'll go with the first story they heard first, or at least it confuses things. It's a mean thing to do. So when we talk about fables, and this is what actually you're wondering, well, what does this have to do with public speaking? Anytime you're going to be speaking in public, you're trying to show people that you're a moral person. They need to feel like they can trust what you're saying. If you stand up there and you just don't have that essence to you, that feeling, if you're not communicating that, no one's going to want to listen. And that's a bad place to be in, right? But the nice thing is that it's very easy to get your audience to listen to you, to become more comfortable in talking to your audience, whether it's one person or 1,000 people or more. Okay, the tricks are the same. The process is the same. So today we're doing our work with fables. Okay, so those are some rather abstract examples of fables, but here's another one. This one's a little bit more about the dangers in maybe who your friends are. Okay, let's see if you guys have heard of this one. Have you ever heard of the scorpion and the frog? Any of you guys know the scorpion and the frog? No? Head shaking? Okay, fair enough. Okay, so here's the story. A frog is sitting on the riverbank of a great wide river, and it crosses it every day. It's no problem for a frog. But today, he's surprised. Scorpion just kind of comes scuttling up and says, Mr. Frog, could I please have a ride on your back across the river? And Frog looks at the scorpion and says, no, you're a scorpion. I'm going to get out there and you're going to sting me and I'm going to die. So we're not going to do that. The scorpion says, no. Why would I sting you? If I sting you, we'll both die. It makes no sense. So the frog thinks about it. I guess, all right. You're a scorpion. That's what scorpions do, but you're right. I guess we'll both be in trouble. So, okay, frog says, get on. Let's go. So he's swimming. Frog's going. They get about halfway through the river, and the frog feels something. Ah! What was that? You stung me. Scorpion, why did you sting me? We're going to both die. The scorpion just sits on his back and says, I'm sorry. It's just my nature. And that's it. It's a sad one. Sometimes fables aren't even happy stories. I enjoy when they are. The moral here is that sometimes you can't change a person, or you can't change somebody, or you can't change a situation. Sometimes you have to go off of your own feelings. The frog said, no, scorpion is a bad bet. Okay, scorpion's going to sting me because that's what scorpions do. But he wanted to listen to the scorpion. He wanted to trust him. And it's not about necessarily not trusting strangers, but it's about trusting your instincts. Oops. Sorry, guys, this is my phone there. It's more or less about trusting. It's about trusting yourself. It's about trusting your own instincts, okay? So in this case, if the frog had just listened to that little inner voice that said, ooh, this is a bad idea. Don't go down that alley. Don't get in the car with that stranger. I don't care what they said. It's a bad idea. Okay. The most simplest version to talk about that, Scorpion and the Frog. Okay. So that's the power of fables. Okay. They capture our attention. They can tell us relevant stories, useful stories about life. Okay. Why don't we pick something a little bit more fun, just to lighten the mood as to what fables can do? Sometimes a fable is the best way to show us the difference between, say, knowing something, okay, let's say facts and knowledge. Who can tell me the difference? Can anyone tell me the difference between, say, fact and knowledge? It's a tricky one. Anybody? Okay. This is a perfect example of how a quick fable, or if you want to think about it, an analogy, helps me teach a lesson, okay? So I'm going to give you guys an example, but in this case, my fable has nothing to do with people. It has to do with fruit, okay? And it has to do with fruit, and it has to do with knowledge versus fact versus information, okay? And what the difference is. Now, I'm just making this up as I go, but I'm just trying to give you guys an example of how can this be useful. So to teach you, I'm going to use a fable about some talking fruit. Okay, there is a tomato and an orange. Okay, they're sitting there together, and the tomato. Okay, orange heard from the banana. They're going to be making a salad later, fruit salad. Oh boy, am I excited for that fruit salad. And then the tomato, he gets real excited. And the tomato's like, yes, I can't wait. It's my time to shine. The orange goes, whoa, hold up. What are you talking about? And then the tomato starts laughing because the orange is so silly. Ha! Well, I'm excited because I'm going to be in that salad. And the orange says, no, you're not. And the tomato goes, yes, I am. And do you know why? And the orange goes, no. Tomato goes, because technically I'm a fruit. And the orange just rolls his eyes. And he goes, oh, yeah, we know you're technically a fruit. And the tomato goes, yeah, so I'm going to join the other pieces of fruit. And then that's when the orange just says, sorry, buddy, you might be a tomato. You might be a piece of fruit. But it takes knowledge to know you don't put tomatoes in a fruit salad. That's it. That's my moral. My moral is, okay, everyone knows tomatoes fruit, but you don't put tomato in a fruit salad. Okay, we keep it with the vegetables. So that's the difference between knowing a fact. Okay, yes, we all know a fact. Tomatoes are technically vegetables. Okay? We should be considering them as apples and oranges, right? But in cooking, we cook them with vegetables. That's knowledge. You guys just know that from living on this planet, from having experience. You're aware of that difference, okay? Do you guys have any questions about that? It's kind of a weird example. I just made up out of fruit to try and use a real world example, but does that make sense? Evangela, do you have a question?
No, I just want to say good little story. I like it, and I really understand it.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Anya, Tomohiro, did you guys understand it? Did it make sense to you? Okay. Alyssa, how about you? How did you feel?
Well, it did feel a bit weird, but I kind of understand it.
Okay, all right. We'll tell you this. So 3 out of 4 of you understood the moral of the story, and that's still very efficient. Let's take a quick moment. We'll look at the time. It's 6:25. I probably started talking about the tomato stout at around 6:20. So by using a story, I took a lesson, and I managed to explain it in about 5 minutes. And I think that is way more efficient and shows how useful storytelling can be than if I tried to stop and break down the pieces of, well, okay, knowledge and facts are very different definitions. And if you look in the book, they'll have, okay. And yes, I could do that. We could sit down and just talk about the plain language of it. But it's the moment you use a story, your interest is engaged, your attention is engaged, and you're also trying to make sense of, okay, well, where's this story going? When you compare a story with a piece of information or knowledge, as we just mentioned, it becomes so much easier to explain things to other people, to share your opinion with other people. Okay, so public speaking isn't just about standing up in front of a podium or going on a stage. Okay, it's also about being confident with your own voice in a conversation. So let's say you guys are sitting in class when COVID ends and everyone can go back to normal. If you guys have a group discussion in class, this is the difference between feeling like I don't want to talk because I'm embarrassed, no one's going to like what I'm going to say. This is where you can practice saying, hold up, I have something to say, and I know how I want to say it, because that's going to help convince people or hold their attention. It's all useful. It's all very useful. Okay, well, before, just in case I go wandering off, let's see. We've talked about fables. We talked a little bit about morals, where they come from. Stories that show morality. Okay, I think we're getting it so far. Do you guys have any questions about anything so far? Using animals, why fables, anything like that? Had you guys heard some of these stories, or let's say been read some of these stories in class, maybe when you were younger? We usually call them Aesop's fables. So there's a bunch of stories that involve like a monkey and a lion or anything like that. No? Evangela? Yeah?
Well, I read a story called Androcles and the Lion.
What was the first name?
Androcles and the Lion. I don't know how to pronounce like Androcles.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, that might be an adapted story. Very possible. All right. Well, let's okay. Well, here's what I'm going to get you guys to do. I'm going to get you all to write your own fable. So I'm going to give you some time right now in class to now you can use pen and paper if you want, or type it up. It's totally up to you. But here's what's tricky. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you about 15 minutes, and you're going to write a story that has to use some animals. And at the end of it, it has to tell me a moral. Okay. But here's the trick. You're then, after those 15 minutes are up, you have to share it with class. But when you share it with the class, you're going to have to practice a couple things. Okay. You guys are going to have to stand up in front of your camera. We're going to talk a little bit about voice, how to face it. Okay. We're going to practice some live public speaking. But we're going to start off with something very simple. And in this case, we're going to use whatever you decide. I use the fruit to talk about information and knowledge. Okay. You guys, any moral at all. And don't worry, you can steal it from anywhere. It doesn't matter, but it has to have a couple of animals or one if you like. Okay. And we got to learn something from it. That's it. That's it. Nothing trickier than that. Sorry, any questions? Anya, did you have a hand up?
No, I'm fine.
Good. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm just going to set a timer. So we'll give you guys, let's see here. Well, you know what? We'll go for 10 minutes and then we'll see how you guys are feeling at 10 minutes. If you need more time, that's okay. Do you guys need help with it at all? Do you need help picking any animals, coming up with a moral? We can kind of help come up with some ideas together, but I'm not looking for anything fancier other than a very simple story. And just remembering you're going to have to read it out loud after that. Okay. We're going to be finishing up class by sharing these stories. All right. So how about this? Thumbs up if you guys understand. Good to go. Evangela's ready to go. Tamira's good to go. Lissa, Anya? So, yeah, all right. Okay. I will set the timer. And 10 minutes. You're off. Okay. 10 minutes. You can write it on paper. You can type it up. Whatever's easiest for you. Because remember, you got to have to kind of look at and read it while you're going. We are going to try and memorize things down the road, but not today. And when we do, we'll keep it very simple. Just write it remembering that you got to read it out live. Now, if you excuse me, I just have to check who was trying to.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Where do we have to write it, in the chat or like in Google Docs?
It's up to you. Right now, this isn't something you have to hand in to me. Okay, this is just something that you're going to have to write so you can read it clearly. So if you want to write it in Google Docs, you can write it in Google Docs. If you want to write it in pen so you can hold a piece of paper, that's up to you as well.
Okay.
Okay, is that all right? All right. All right. It's about 8.5 minutes yet, guys. You got lots of time. If anyone's having a hard time thinking about animals, I'll throw some animals out there. Snake, armadillo, dolphin, panda bear, sparrow, kangaroo, dog. I don't know why it's hard. It's hard to think about them sometimes, isn't it?
I have two.
You got a couple?
I have two.
Perfect. That's enough for the story.
No, I have two fairy tales in my mind.
Oh, you have two fables, two morals. Well, if you want to share both of them, you're more than welcome to. Or if you want to pick which one's your favorite, that's okay too. Alyssa, do you have a question?
Yes. So can we actually use a fable just with different characters?
I will allow that for sure. Yep.
Because I'm gonna copy a fable just with different animals.
That sounds fair. How about this? You can totally use one that you know and just change the animals. That's totally okay. You still have to tell us the story as if we don't know it. But I want you all to stay away from a house and country swap, only because we've already done one like that. But tell you what, if you did already do one like that and I just surprised you, that's okay. You can stick to it. Okay. Let's see what we got for time. You guys have just under 7 minutes. Just under 7 minutes. All right. 5.5 minutes. 5.5 minutes. Now for this exercise, not really necessarily looking for length. So try and give yourself some time to reread what you've written and check for any errors or typos, anything that's just going to trip you up when you're trying to read it out loud. Just make sure it's nice and as clean as you can. Give yourself as much help as possible. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. All right, guys, well, 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Time passes fast, eh? You guys are doing really good, by the way. I know it's not easy to sit down and have to write something like that, do it live, but you guys are doing great. Three minutes, guys. 3 minutes.
But I'm not nearly done yet.
Oh, it's okay. Do your best. Just do your best. All right, you got 2 minutes and 10 seconds. 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Yeah, just do your best. And if you can't finish, as long as you at least have a moral in mind and something to share, that's what I'm looking for most. All right, minute and a half. Minute and a half. All right, minute to go. Ooh, 50 seconds. 50 seconds. Oops. All right, 10 seconds. So you guys finish up, do your best. Time is up. Do you guys need a couple more seconds? But how you guys doing?
I'm not nearly done yet, so
Almost done.
Okay, Alyssa's almost done.
Me
That's
too.
all right.
I'm not nearly done yet. I am almost in the middle, but yeah.
It's okay. That's okay. Well, if you're in the middle, then we'll just you can put a to be continued in the middle part, okay?
Could I like say my moral?
You
Like
can,
the moral of the story.
yeah, you can just kind of tell us if you don't have a chance to get to the end. That's not a big deal. Anya, how did you do?
I didn't finish either because I need to take a long time to write this one paragraph or something.
That's okay. And I totally understand. It does. It takes much longer to write something than it does to say it, which is kind of one of the lessons from class today, actually. But still part of the process. And it's surprising how little you can actually get done in 15 minutes. Even professional writers will tell you the same thing. Tomohiro, how are you doing?
Just about to write my moral.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, then you guys can kind of finish up. I'm going to put a couple of tips on the board here. Can you guys see this okay? Can you see this? All right. Yeah. Tips on presenting. This is maybe I'll try and have you guys memorize this down the road, but not right now. Pretty simple stuff though. One, you got to face your audience. Okay, makes sense to me. Unless you're a radio announcer, then I guess it doesn't matter. Or a podcaster, still doesn't matter. But if you ever listen to a podcast and there's two people talking, they always face each other. It's just how we do it. It's communicating. It's a conversation. Something you guys should think about is that when you give a speech or you give a presentation, this might seem a little odd, but you're still having a conversation, but it's one way. So when you talk to an audience, they're not talking back to you. Well, usually they're not talking back to you, but you should think about it as you're still telling them things and they are reacting, but you'll see it in their faces. You'll see it in people's body language. They're not going to be saying anything else, right? People are really frowning and it's a birthday. Maybe you gave the wrong speech, right? So that's just an example of how you're still having a conversation. You can still see reactions back and forth from the people or person you're talking to or at. So you got to face your audience. Makes sense to me. Keep your head up. All right, this is important. Remember I mentioned to you guys that part of public speaking is to build your confidence. Part of building your confidence is showing your confidence. You actually just have to present yourself as confident. It's hard, especially if you don't feel confident. But if you keep the head up, literally, chin up. In class, when we do presentations, I want you guys to think about your camera as the face of the audience. Your eyes will want to wander, which is fine, because we have a bunch of faces. You can see your fellow classmates. But the audience is this, okay? So you're going to want to face it, and you want to keep your chin up. You just want to be able... This projects confidence. This lets people know I'm not scared. I'm looking you in the eye. The camera is the eye. There's different tricks if you're talking to a bigger group, but in this case, just think about one person, this camera, okay? So keep your head up. I'll give you a quick example why that even matters. All right, I'll show you guys. Head up. Hello, welcome to class. I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you for not making fun of my story involving the fruit. Okay, now let's do the same thing. Hi guys, thanks for coming here today. Thank you for not laughing at my story about the fruit. Okay, a little bit different energy. Seems like I did something wrong if I'm talking to you this way. Like, oh, am I guilty of something? I don't know. I don't seem confident. Now I'm asking. The other way, I was just more like, hey, all right, I told a funny story. What do you guys think? The only lesson here is just the difference in how you trust somebody when they're talking like this or when they're talking like this at you specifically. Think about when you turn on the news or when your parents turns on the news, right? Or maybe you guys who likes watching like a YouTuber or a Twitch person they like watching? Do you guys have any YouTube channels like Tomohiro? You got somebody you like watching? Yeah, do you want to?
But nobody subscribes.
Oh, what? You mean you have one? You have one yourself?
My dad has one.
Oh, okay. Well, then these are some tips for anyone. Well, Evangela or Alyssa, do you guys have anyone you like watching on YouTube or I don't know, Instagram? Anyone that just a personality you like following?
Well, like, I don't have one, but I don't have one.
Okay. Well, that's okay too. Point being is that with all these YouTubers and people on Twitch playing their video games and all these different personalities, influencers, they know how to look at a camera. Big part of getting followers, looking at the camera. But this isn't about followers. This isn't about Facebook or Instagram or getting that kind of whatever. This is just about when you're talking to somebody or when you're presenting yourself. But it travels all the way into photos, into videos of you. But we want to talk about when you're doing it live with people, when you are talking to a room or you're talking to someone right in front of you. This is more important. Okay, head up. Makes sense to me. Pronouns. So pronounce your words carefully. Okay. This is tricky because you might be using new words or you might be unfamiliar with some words, and that's okay. This is a safe space to get used to some words. But it shows the importance of practicing something. And I'm going to tell you why. This is a true story. A professor of mine at the university here in the city, he, for a while before he became a teacher, he was a professional speechwriter for a union president here in Edmonton. Not super important to know, but a union president is elected. So usually you have to campaign and you have to give some speeches, just like you would for a governor or president of anything. But in this case, he wrote a speech and they wanted to talk about the word compromise. The word is compromise. And this was a 40-year-old woman who was rerunning for being a president. And the speechwriter said, would you like to read the speech before you give it? And she said, nope, that's fine. I don't read the speeches. I just go up there. That's what I pay you for. And he says, no, I totally understand. But I put some words in just to practice. Maybe you want to do it. She said, nope, I'm not going to. And he said, all right, okay. So she went in front of the public. There was kind of like a little media coverage. All the guys that vote for her were there. She starts reading the speech. Speechwriter's listening. And he's like, okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. And all of a sudden a word popped up and he was like, And the word that popped up that he did not remember writing was compromise. And she said, we must make sure to compromise every step. And we must look at different compromises. So we're talking about an adult woman who is running a campaign up on a podium with a microphone, mispronouncing the word compromise. She was not reelected. It's very embarrassing. It's a silly thing to have done. But the mistake was, it's okay to read a word wrong. It's not okay to not practice. Think about how she literally might have gotten elected if she hadn't shown how silly she was. I mean, it's not a complicated word. Adults should know the word compromise. It was too good. It showed that she literally didn't know the definition if she couldn't recognize it on the page. And we're very symbolic thinkers. We think, well, she can't read that word right. What else can't she do right? Oh, well, and this is the power of public speaking. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. That's why people get scared of doing it. Okay, but for what we're talking about, no one's going to have any election campaigns to worry about. We don't have any stakes that high. Okay, so a couple more steps. Got to pronounce your words clearly. Tone. Use a correct tone. Okay. Tone is pretty simple. Tone is the energy of your voice. Okay, I'm teaching you guys a class. I'm trying to keep it upbeat. I want to use high energy. I want you guys not to fall asleep, hopefully. So I use that in when I'm talking to you, when I'm lecturing, I'm trying to consider that. But if I'm going to give a speech, let's say, okay, here's a speech at a birthday for my buddy Tomohiro. Tomohiro, it's his 25th birthday. He's a great guy. I remember the time he built a rocket in his basement when he was 20 and it didn't make it to the moon, but it made a pretty big splash, literally in the ocean. My best friend, Tomohiro, yay. Okay, so that's my energy. Hey, yeah, good stuff, okay? Now, here's why it's important for tone. Unfortunately, Tomohiro died in another one of his rocket experiments. So if that happens, here's how I'm not going to give his eulogy at his funeral. Hey, thanks for coming to the funeral, guys. So crazy. Tomohiro died. He's dead in the ground. Oh, it's so he's such a crazy dude. What a time. All right, thanks for coming. Bye. All right, that is not how you talk at a funeral. Funerals are sad. Funerals are somber, right? We're going to be like, oh my God, what was he doing? Well, I mean, it'd be kind of funny because he died in his rocket experiments. Fair enough. But you need to be appropriate for the situation. There's a couple other versions of this, right? Let's say a friend comes running in. Oh, I'm so excited. I made the hockey team. I made the hockey team. And you just turn over and you're like, yay. Oh, thanks. I feel great. Glad I rushed to tell you. All right, I'm going to go to a real friend, right? No, a friend says I made it. You say, yay, energy. You're trying to respond to the situation. When you are giving a speech, when you are talking to a classroom, when you guys are a student in the classroom, we instinctively find an appropriate energy. We just learn it. We don't think about it. But as the older you guys get, when you have to do presentations, again, doesn't matter. Could be for school, could be for work. You need to read the room, or you might have to set the tone of the room. Right? Let's say you are a news reporter, or not even a news reporter. Let's say you work for the president, and you're the, what do they call them? The press secretary, and you have to literally tell all those cameras and all those reporters good news and bad news each and every day. There were more deaths overseas. Bad news. Good news. Education got giant funding, right? When the person comes out to give that information, they are going to deliver it in two different ways. Okay, one is going to be somber and serious, well, depending, and the other one's going to be, yay, we did it. All right, but again, point being, read the situation. Correct tone. Oh yes, okay. Keep body. Well, I was going to say keep your body still, but more like relaxed. You guys will notice that even when I'm talking to you, I'm not, thank you, coming to class, right? We don't do that. We want to be relaxed. You want to just don't be tense. Just let your muscles sit as they would usually, okay? Some people like to keep a hand in the pocket. You can't see that I'm doing that, but there you go. You want to be comfortable. You want to be natural. That's something that people look to when someone's giving a speech as well. You just want to look comfortable in your own body, okay? That can be tricky sometimes. It's harder for others. Keep body, we'll say, comfy. Keep your body comfy. Stay comfortable. And last, well, actually, no. That is last. All of this shows or presents, if you want to think about it that way. Oops. Confidence. Okay? Even if you don't feel like it, you will be showing it. My job as your teacher will be to make sure you actually feel confident. But in the beginning, it's always okay to fake it. Okay, you can fake being confident for now. That's all right. Okay, guys. Well, we're gonna move very quickly with sharing your stories. Okay, we gotta be very efficient. So what I need you to do is think about these things. Okay, but when I pick you, I want you to, for today, stand up in front of your camera. I don't have to see all of you, just like I'm doing. Okay, I want to see your head, your shoulders. Okay. And I want you to tell us your fable. I want you to read us your fable and think about these points as you go. And that's it. Today, it's just about practicing it. It's just about getting used to it, okay? So I'm going to pick on you guys just in the order that I have my screens on here. So I'm going to pick Tomohiro to go first. All right. So Tomohiro, before you get, yeah, if you can adjust your camera just so it's not cutting off the top of your head. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. Oh, perfect. That will completely work. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take myself off of Spotlight and I'm going to spotlight Tomohiro. Ooh. All right. Oh, and try and keep your paper below the camera if you can. I know. It's tricky. Okay, go ahead.
The piranha and the electric eel. Once upon a time, an electric eel was waiting to catch his prey. Then he got a piranha. The piranha said, "Please don't eat me." The eel said, "I can't let go of you. You're my dinner. But if you don't eat me, I'll be friends with you," said piranha. The eel sighed and let go of him. The next day, the eel was caught by a human. When the eel got caught, piranha bit the man and cut free the eel. Eel and piranha became friends forever. Moral: sometimes the prey or the smaller can help the bigger or predators.
Well done. Well done. All right. That was an excellent, excellent story. I would say if we look at your points, you face the audience, and it's tricky when you're reading off a piece of paper, but you did an excellent job. Head up, same thing. You did a good job keeping your head up, even though it's hard with the paper. Pronouncing carefully, I understood. And the electric eel, pretty interesting. Tone, I think you didn't sound too confident yet. What we would say is monotone. So when I read a story, even if I stay at this level the whole time and it does not jump, then I am staying monotone. Now that is where we usually all start. So I'm not trying to pick on you, Tamiro. This is going to be something all of us need to work on. And it's about trying to put a little bit of inflection into your story. But we don't have a whole lot of time, so I won't hop into that. We'll talk about that with other presenting. But I would say full points for bravery, for courage, and for a great moral. Okay, that reminds me of another story where a lion gets a thorn in his paw and a mouse has to take it out. Same moral. It's about how the little can help the big. Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to remove you from Spotlight and I'm going to move over to Anya. Anya, I know you did not have a chance to finish yours, but you can just share what you did get.
But I didn't finish my my fable.
That's okay. You can just read what you have. And then
Could I read it out loud next time when I finish my fable?
Okay, tell you what, because we don't have a lot of time, I'll let you read it next time. Does that sound okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right, Anya, deal. Okay. Evangela, how do you feel? Would you like to share what you have, or?
I didn't finish my story, but I could do it. So,
Okay.
wait.
If you'd like, Evangela, since Anya is going to share hers next class, you're welcome to finish it and share it next class too. It's up to you.
Okay, now we'll finish the next class.
Okay. Sounds like a deal. Alyssa, would you like to share yours?
Okay.
All right. I'm just going to change the spotlight. Sorry. There you go. Same thing. Can you stand up and yep. And then and you can just stand a little bit away so you don't have to with your camera. Yeah, that works. Perfect. Looks good.
dolphin, whale, and stingray. There once lived a whale and a stingray. The whale once saw a crow and told his friend Stingray, "Who's gonna eat it?" asked the stingray. "I don't know," said the whale, and they started to fight. They fought so long that they didn't even notice that the dolphin started to eat the crow. Moral of the story is, if you fight with someone about something, the third might get it.
That's right. There's no bigger distraction than fighting with somebody. And you're gonna lose your ground. Or perfect. Excellent work. Face your audience. Good job. Head up the whole way. Well done. Pronounce clearly. I got that. And it was the krill, right? The krill we were talking about. Awesome. Correct in tone. I think so. Maybe a little nervous for your first time, but there was some positive energy. And I think you looked more or less relaxed, maybe a little stiff, but this is your guys' first time. Good job. All right. Well, big round of applause for Tamiro and for Alyssa sharing their stories. I guess you're all muted, so fair enough.
Body.
What's that?
I'll let my arms loose.
Yeah. Did you feel comfortable?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then you know what? Fair enough. Sometimes it's a little tricky with the video camera and that. I think you looked confident. And I think both you and Tamahiro, you both seemed very confident just by being able to share and having that go in. And good job, Anya and Evangela. We'll see your guys' next week. And that's it. So we worked on fables this week. Next week, we're going to be working on something called narratives. So there's a couple steps to the class. Okay. Great work, though. I really enjoyed meeting you guys. We'll see you next Monday. Sound good?
Oh, sauce. You're still on recording.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry. Let's stop recording then. Yes.